Good evening and welcome back to Prime of Midlife. It's Monday night and today we're talking next year. Oh yes, I'm going there already. Why am I going there? Because I think we need to plan. And the first thought that came into my head, I had seen, I was reading a couple of articles over the last few days and they were talking about community groups. And some of the community groups are doing things like social housing, putting up a windmill, growing orchards and things like that. But to be able to do something like that, it needs to be quite a big community group. It needs to be incorporated, recognised. If you want to apply for funding, for grants like from the lottery or something. And I just don't have time to be that involved. However, then my thinking changed to how many community groups do I know that are here? And there's quite a few. And sometimes they're looking for something to do to help the community. And I'm thinking my first thought was fruit trees. There's a whole lot of spaces. I don't know if you've noticed, I've walked past them so often. There's a whole lot of spaces beside the pavements. You know, when there's like maybe a 10, 15, 20 foot verge. And sometimes there's trees growing on it, sometimes it's just grass. Why is there not fruit trees growing on it? Because then you could help feed people. You know, they can help themselves to what's coming off the trees. And then my next thought was, well, yeah, what if it gets vandalised? What if someone comes and steals all the fruit? Yeah, that's fine if you've only got 2 or 3. Plant more. So why don't we, as a community, ask other local community groups in your area to help prepare for the next few years? Prepare by, I don't know, is it called, by just planting things that could help feed people later. I mean, I know there's people do guerrilla gardening. I'm pretty sure there's a guy on YouTube who literally goes about planting fruit trees in different places. And he does do it like in these grass verges. Now, when Patrick and I went away down to Ayr, which is a good 2-hour drive. Now, when we went down the side of the motorway, obviously you don't plant fruit trees at the side of the motorway unless it grew because somebody threw an apple out and the seed sprouted, which I saw. There's one just along the road from us and it's like right beside the road and I just, no, don't care how free those apples are, I'm not going for that one. But if there's enough of them planted, then nobody will be in any need to go and take all the harvest or vandalise it or whatever. You know, just plant loads. And obviously none of us can do that by ourselves. But we could ask other community groups. We could write a letter to the local parish council as opposed to your local authority and say, look, can we do this? Because, you know, we're thinking as preppers, I need to get my stuff dehydrated, I need to make jam, I need to stock up my cupboards, I need to, you know, 1 is none, 2 is 1, all that. And there's an awful lot of people can't do that. But if there's free food, there's food growing about in the community, how much easier would that make people's lives? If you've lost your library locally, is there somewhere where you could do a book exchange? Is there somewhere that the men's shed could be started? Now, for people who don't know, the men's shed is something that started, I don't even think it was in the UK, I think it was abroad it started. And what it is it's a bunch of guys, and it started off, as far as I remember, it was guys who were retired, but they had skills. They had skills to pass on. They were able to do things. Now, I know one started here locally, and it was basically the guys had a room in the church. The church gave them the room. Well, I don't know if it gave them, because when I asked, I had to pay for it. But they gave them the room. And I remember the guy coming to the local community council meeting. He's like, oh, we've got this men's shed going, it's great. You know, we've got joiners, we've got electricians, we've got mechanics, you know, there's people who are We're going to look at being able to do things now, we just need some tools. But they had guys coming down every week with nothing to do. And I had read about something called Morse bags. And Morse bags was when you first had to start paying for polythene bags. And they're like, make bags out of old bed sheets and whatever, and donate them, you know, put them in the store, give them to people. So I passed the details on to this men's shed, and I think it must have been within their first 6 months or something. And they literally had a room and they would have a cup of tea and they would make plans. But there was a craft a craft fair coming up. And what they did is they got, I gave them the pattern for the Morse bag, and they cut out so much material. Asked wives, friends, partners, whatever, with sewing machines to help them sew the bags together. And they sold them, and that started their funds up. So the men's shed, you know, ask them if they can help with making raised beds for veggies, doing anything like that. But I think as a prepper community, for whatever that stands for, you know, just for being prepared, it's still supposed to be difficult next year. And I know we need to get through this winter, and I know that trying to stay warm, etc., is going to be so much more difficult. But I also know that next year the help with the energy bills is tailing off in March. So if we can, you know, if you're able to, if you can afford to go and buy a fruit tree, a blackcurrant bush, an apple tree, a plum tree, something like that, then please do. And go and grill a garden it, plant it beside some other stuff, you know, some other vegetation, so that nobody really notices there's one more bush. And you know, it's fruit that people can eat next year. I think the trees take a bit longer. But yeah, again, you know, my brain goes full of wheels all different ways. But I'm thinking that if we can do something like that, like plant food things, get the men's shed to help make things that needs to be done. Maybe ask them to repair stuff that needs to be done. You know, as I say, if you don't have a library, see if there's a room you could have maybe in the church hall, or even just the church hall puts a table up where you can exchange books and DVDs. I think we need to start building the physical community again. Because best of all in the world, as we get older, our abilities diminish. And firing about in that computer at the speed I do, I don't think is going to last forever. I watched it happen with my mother. So, yeah, let's start building physical communities a little bit at a time. And it's getting windy here because my back door has just blown open. So I will go and sort that out, and I will catch you later.